Hello everyone and welcome to the Young and the Restless channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The day unfolds with a quiet tension humming beneath the surface, beginning at the warm, familiar glow of crimson lights, where the past and present collide in ways neither heart can fully escape. Audra Charles and Noah Newman find themselves sitting across from each other, their conversation tentative at first but gradually softening into something more honest, more vulnerable. There's an unspoken longing in the air as they agree that it would be nice, almost necessary, to move past the strange, complicated distance that has grown between them. Memories begin to resurface, carrying both warmth and regret, and as they reflect on what once was, the emotional weight of their shared history settles in. Then, almost unexpectedly, the topic shifts to Audra's miscarriage, a moment so deeply personal that it silences everything else around them. Noah's reaction is instinctive, his hand reaching for hers in a gesture of quiet comfort. And for a brief moment, the world seems to hold its breath as they connect in shared pain. But that fragile moment doesn't go unnoticed, as Sienna Bacall arrives just in time to witness the intimacy unfolding between them, her presence instantly shattering the delicate atmosphere. What follows is a performance wrapped in politeness, a thinly veiled tension simmering beneath every word exchanged between Audra and Sienna. Their smiles are controlled, their voices measured, but the undercurrent of rivalry is impossible to ignore. Audra is left to watch as Sienna effortlessly slips into Noah's space, her laughter light, her touch deliberate, as if staking a quiet claim. The discomfort lingers, and it only deepens when Holden Novak arrives, his sharp instincts cutting straight through the facade. He wastes no time calling Audra out, recognizing the truth she hasn't dared to say aloud, that her feelings for Noah are far from dissolved. Holden's concern shifts quickly towards Sienna, particularly her unsettling knowledge of events that transpired in Los Angeles, details that could easily become dangerous in the wrong hands. Yet, Audra, ever composed, brushes it off as nothing more than a minor inconvenience, refusing to give Sienna that kind of power. Meanwhile, Sienna plants another seed, casually suggesting to Noah that they should one day compare notes about their shared history with Audra, a suggestion that feels less like curiosity and more like a looming threat waiting for the right moment to unfold. Elsewhere, beneath the open sky on the GCAC patio, the stakes rise as Kane Ashby meets with Holden Novak, their conversation steeped in secrecy and implication. Kane doesn't waste time with pleasantries, revealing that he has another job lined up, one that doesn't require travel, but instead demands action right here in town. His tone darkens as he hints at the nature of the task, making it clear that things are about to get ugly, and the question isn't whether Holden understands that, but whether he's willing to step into the chaos. Holden, pragmatic as ever, doesn't flinch. His only concern is the price and the target. When Kane assures him that the payoff will be more than worth it, the conversation takes a sharp turn as he reveals the name at the center of it all, Victor Newman. It's a name that carries weight, power, and danger. And yet, Holden doesn't back down, standing at the edge of a decision that could entangle him in a war far greater than he realizes. At the Grand Phoenix Athletic Club, another confrontation brews, this one rooted in betrayal, suspicion, and fractured loyalties. Kyle Abbott corners Victoria Newman, demanding answers about the chaos surrounding Jack Abbott's kidnapping, and what he reveals next catches her completely off guard. Patty Williams was involved. The revelation sends ripples through the conversation, but Victoria, ever steadfast in her loyalty to her father, begins to construct an alternate narrative. She suggests that Patty may have drugged Jack, subtly planting doubt, only to pivot moments later and imply that perhaps Jack wasn't drugged at all. It's a familiar pattern, one that shields Victor from blame while shifting scrutiny elsewhere. When Diane Jenkins Abbott joins the confrontation, the tension escalates further, with Victoria suggesting that Diane might want to look closer to home for the real reason her marriage is falling apart. The words land harder than expected, and once Victoria exits, Diane is left alone with Kyle, forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Despite everything Jack has claimed, Diane admits that when they found him with Patty, he didn't seem out of his mind, leaving Kyle to wrestle with a version of events that feels both impossible and undeniable. Meanwhile, at Society, Jack Abbott sits with Nikki Newman, their shared struggles drawing them into a moment of quiet understanding. As they talk, Nikki pieces together a realization that shifts everything. Patty was the woman on the yacht. Suddenly, Jack's anger makes sense. His desire for revenge no longer abstract but deeply personal. And yet, Nikki sees the bigger picture, recognizing that Patty's return complicates everything in ways they can't ignore. It's no longer just about Victor. Now there's a volatile, unpredictable force back in play, one that could unravel everything if left unchecked. Nikki agrees that Victor deserves to be held accountable, but her greater wish is for the endless cycle of conflict to finally come to an end. She warns Jack that pursuing vengeance will only provoke Victor further, keeping the feud alive in a never-ending spiral. But Jack's resolve is unshakable. He refuses to stand by and let Victor escape consequences, his determination hardening into something dangerous. Even without a fully formed plan, he makes it clear he will strike back, and when he does, it will be a blow Victor never sees coming. Back at the GCAC, the emotional fallout continues to ripple outward. Kyle steps away to take a phone call, leaving Diane alone just as Jack enters the room. Their eyes meet across the distance, and in that silent exchange, everything is laid bare. The pain, the confusion, the fracture in what once felt unbreakable. No words are needed, because the truth is already there between them, heavy and undeniable. At the Newman ranch, the storm intensifies as Claire Newman confronts Victor directly, demanding answers about Jack's abduction. Victor, unwavering as ever, defends his actions with the conviction of a man who believes he is always justified, especially when it comes to protecting his family and reclaiming his empire. But his ambitions don't stop there. He reveals his intention to weaponize Chancellor against Phyllis Summers, a move that signals just how far he is willing to go to maintain control. He speaks of strategy, of power, and of loyalty, mentioning that Victoria will stand beside him in this plan before turning his attention to Claire with an offer. Join them. Work alongside him. Become part of something bigger. The proposal hangs in the air, heavy with implication. Victoria soon arrives to gather items for Nikki, but even her attempts to soften the situation are swiftly shut down by Victor, who refuses to entertain compromise. Later, in a quieter moment, Claire confides in Victoria, her uncertainty clear as she questions whether she can accept Victor's offer if it means being complicit in his ruthless actions. The weight of the decision presses down on her, leaving her at a crossroads where every choice comes with consequences. And as the tension builds across every corner of Genoa City, one thing becomes painfully clear. The lines are being drawn, and no one will walk away untouched. As the night deepens over Genoa City, the emotional aftershocks of the day begin to settle into something heavier, something far more dangerous than fleeting confrontations or whispered suspicions. At Crimson Lights, the air grows thicker with everything left unsaid, as Audra Charles remains caught between the pull of her past and the reality unfolding right in front of her. Watching Sienna Bacall lean into Noah Newman with effortless charm feels less like coincidence and more like a calculated move. Each laugh and lingering glance striking Audra with quiet precision. There's a storm building behind her composed exterior, a mixture of regret, longing, and frustration that refuses to be ignored. Holden Novak's words echo in her mind, forcing her to confront the truth she's been trying to outrun, that her connection with Noah isn't something she can simply bury. And yet, Sienna's presence complicates everything, especially with the subtle but undeniable threat of what she knows about Los Angeles hanging over them all. As Noah remains unaware of the full depth of the tension surrounding him, the stage is quietly being set for a confrontation that feels inevitable. One that could expose truths none of them are ready to face. Across town, the weight of Kane Ashby's proposition begins to settle over Holden, turning what once felt like just another job into something far more consequential. The idea of going up against Victor Newman isn't just risky, it's a direct step into the crosshairs of one of the most powerful and unforgiving men in the city. And yet, there's something about the promise of reward, of significance, that keeps Holden from walking away. Kane's warning lingers, a quiet acknowledgement that this mission won't just test loyalty, but morality as well. It's not simply about getting his hands dirty, it's about choosing a side in a war that's already escalating beyond control. As Holden considers the implications, the city itself seems to shift around him, every alliance and rivalry suddenly taking on sharper meaning. What began as a simple transaction is quickly evolving into a dangerous entanglement, one that could leave lasting consequences for everyone involved. Meanwhile, the fractures within the Abbott family continue to widen, each revelation cutting deeper than the last. Kyle Abbott struggles to reconcile what he's learned, the image of his father now clouded by doubt and uncertainty. Diane Jenkins Abbott, though outwardly composed, feels the ground beneath her shifting as she faces the possibility that her marriage may not be as solid as she believed. Victoria Newman's words, though harsh, linger with unsettling clarity, forcing Diane to question everything she thought she understood about that night. And when Jack Abbott reappears within her orbit, the silence between them becomes almost unbearable, filled with unspoken accusations and unresolved pain. There's love there, undeniably, but it's now tangled with mistrust and confusion, making every glance feel like both a connection and a wound. As Kyle returns, unaware of the full depth of what just passed between them, the family stands on the edge of a reckoning that could either bring them together or tear them apart completely. At Society, the conversation between Jack Abbott and Nikki Newman continues to echo with quiet intensity, the weight of their shared history lending gravity to every word. Nikki's concern grows as she watches Jack's determination harden into something unyielding, something that mirrors the very man he claims to oppose. She understands his anger, perhaps better than anyone, but she also sees the cost of letting that anger take control. Victor Newman is not a man who lets things go, and any move against him is bound to ignite a retaliation that could spiral far beyond what Jack anticipates. Nikki's plea isn't just about peace, it's about survival, about breaking a cycle that has already caused too much damage. But Jack's mind is made up, his focus locked on a future where Victor is finally forced to answer for everything he's done. The absence of a clear plan doesn't weaken his resolve. Instead, it fuels it, turning his need for justice into a force that feels both righteous and dangerously unpredictable. Back at the Newman Ranch, The tension reaches a boiling point as Claire Newman finds herself standing at the crossroads of loyalty and conscience. Victor Newman's offer isn't just an opportunity, it's a test, one that demands she decide who she is and what she is willing to stand for. His vision of power, of reclaiming control and striking down his enemies is both compelling and terrifying, wrapped in the kind of certainty that has defined him for decades. The mention of using Chancellor as a weapon against Phyllis Summers only reinforces how far he is willing to go, turning business into battlegrounds and people into pawns. Victoria Newman's presence adds another layer of complexity, her unwavering loyalty to their father serving as both an example and a warning. When Claire confides in her privately, her uncertainty is palpable, the weight of the decision pressing down on her with every passing moment. She knows that accepting Victor's offer means stepping into a world where lines are blurred and consequences are unavoidable. And as she stands there, caught between the desire to belong and the need to do what's right, the future feels more uncertain than ever. As the night draws to a close, the city of Genoa City seems to hold its breath. Every character standing on the edge of something irreversible. Alliances are shifting. Secrets are tightening their grip, and the promise of conflict looms larger with each passing moment. What began as quiet conversations and subtle tensions has evolved into a web of choices that will define what comes next. And in the silence before the storm fully breaks, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. No one will emerge from what's coming unchanged, and the cost of every decision is about to be paid in full. By the time the first light of morning threatens the horizon, Genoa City no longer feels like the same place it was just hours before. There's a quiet, almost eerie stillness in the air, as if the city itself senses the magnitude of what's about to unfold. Audra Charles lies awake, her thoughts tangled in everything she tried so hard to suppress, replaying every glance, every word, every fleeting moment with Noah Newman. What once felt like a closed chapter has come rushing back with overwhelming force, refusing to be ignored any longer. The memory of his hand in hers lingers, not just as comfort, but as a reminder of what they lost, and what might still remain beneath the surface. Yet Sienna Bacall's shadow looms just as large, her calculated presence turning Audra's emotions into a battlefield where vulnerability could easily become weakness. And somewhere in that emotional chaos, Audra begins to realize that the choices she makes next won't just shape her future. They could determine who gets hurt when the truth inevitably comes crashing down. Not far away, Holden Novak finds himself staring into the kind of uncertainty that doesn't come with clear answers, only consequences. Kane Ashby's proposition continues to echo in his mind, growing heavier with every passing hour, because this isn't just another job, it's a declaration of war. Going up against Victor Newman isn't something anyone does lightly, and yet, the more Holden thinks about it, the more he feels pulled toward the risk rather than away from it. There's a dangerous allure in stepping into something this big, in becoming part of a story that could reshape the balance of power in Genoa City. But beneath that thrill lies a quiet understanding that once he takes that step, there's no turning back, no safe exit from the fallout that will follow. As the weight of that realization settles in, Holden begins to see the city differently, not as a place of opportunity, but as a battlefield where every move is watched, every alliance tested, and every mistake punished. Across town, the Abbott family remains suspended in a fragile, painful silence that feels like it could shatter at any moment. Diane Jenkins Abbott moves through her thoughts like someone trying to piece together a puzzle that no longer fits, her confidence shaken by the possibility that she's been clinging to a version of reality that may not be entirely true. Jack Abbott, on the other hand, stands at the edge of a different kind of storm, one fueled by anger, betrayal, and a deep, unrelenting need for justice. The image of Patty Williams refuses to leave his mind, her presence turning everything into something twisted and unresolved. And yet, even as he prepares to move forward with his plan for revenge, there's a flicker of something else beneath the surface. A quiet awareness that his actions may cost him more than he is willing to admit. Kyle Abbott, caught between them, feels the strain of trying to hold on to a sense of stability as everything around him begins to unravel, his loyalty tested in ways he never expected. The family bond that once felt unbreakable now hangs by a thread, and no one seems certain how or if it can be repaired. At Society, the echoes of Jack Abbott and Nikki Newman's conversation linger long after they've gone their separate ways, the weight of their words settling into something that feels both inevitable and tragic. Nikki carries the burden of knowing exactly how far Victor Newman is willing to go, and the thought of Jack stepping into that same darkness fills her with a quiet dread she can't shake. She's seen what happens when pride and vengeance take control, how quickly lines blur and how easily people lose themselves in the pursuit of justice. And yet, despite her fears, she also understands the pain that drives Jack forward, the sense of violation and betrayal that demands a response. It's that understanding that makes everything more complicated, because there's no simple solution, no clean way out of the cycle they're all trapped in. As Nikki reflects on everything that's unfolding, one truth becomes painfully clear. This isn't just a conflict between two men anymore, but a chain reaction that's pulling everyone around them into its orbit. Back at the Newman ranch, the walls seem to close in as Claire Newman wrestles with a decision that could define the rest of her life. Victor Newman's offer lingers in her mind, not just as an opportunity but as a challenge, a test of where her loyalties truly lie. His vision is powerful, almost intoxicating in its certainty, promising strength, purpose, and a place within something larger than herself. But that vision comes at a cost, one Claire can't ignore, especially when it involves hurting others and becoming part of a strategy that treats people like expendable pieces. Victoria Newman's unwavering support for their father only deepens the conflict within Claire, making it clear that choosing a different path could mean standing alone. As she weighs her options, the silence around her feels deafening, every thought echoing louder than the last. And in that moment of uncertainty, Claire begins to understand that this isn't just about choosing a side. It's about deciding who she wants to be in a world where power often comes at the expense of everything else. As the sun finally rises, casting its light over a city on the brink of upheaval, the calm feels deceptive, almost fragile in its stillness. Every character, every storyline, every hidden truth is moving toward a collision that can no longer be avoided. The choices made in quiet rooms and whispered conversations are about to erupt into something far more visible, far more destructive. And as Genoa City prepares to face what's coming, one thing is certain. The lines between right and wrong, loyalty and betrayal, love and revenge are about to blur in ways that will change everything.